Good morning. Today we will explore the concept of how we can create and manage the table using the DDL statement. So you can say that today we will learn about using DDL statements to create and manage the tables. How we can create and manage the tables using DDL. So first you must need to understand what DDL is. DDL means data definition language. So you can say that for data definition, there are 5 statements are there. Create, alter, truncate, drop, and rename. Today we will discuss about only one statement, that is create. So how we can create the table in database, that we will learn today. But before creating any table, you must need to understand the naming rules. So here I am just writing down the rules. Table and column names must have these rules. And the rules is the column name or table name must begin with a letter. It means you cannot give the table name which starts from 0 or any other special letter. It must be A to Z, starting from A to Z, either small or capital. So table name or column name must begin with a letter. The second foundational rule is must be a 1 to 30 characters long. It means you cannot give the table name more than a 30 character. One more thing is you cannot give the table name a space in between the name, right? If you want to give a space, then you have to write your table name in double quotes. So I recommend you that don't write the space. Must contain table name or column name must contains only A to Z, A to Z, 0 to 9, underscore, dollar, and hash. Other than this, you cannot use in a table name. So other than this, characters are not allowed in a table name. You must need to take care about what? The table name must not be duplicate the name of another object owned by the same user. It means I am a user, I created the table student. Arjun is a user, Arjun has created the table student. Anirudh is the student, Anirudh has created the table student. It is allowed. But Arjun cannot create a same table name with the same name in the same user. If the user is different, then it is allowed. Now, the final rule is table name must not be an Oracle server reserved word. It means Oracle have a reserved word like from, order. So you cannot create the table name order. Why? Because order by is the close. You cannot write the table name that is drop. You cannot write the table name that is create. It means inbuilt keyword that is used in Oracle server are not allowed over here. One more thing, whenever you create the table, the syntax is what? You can simply write create table, then table name. Here, the table name follows this all rules. Now here in table name, after the table name, here you can define the columns. Again, the column name having the same rule that I mentioned over here. That is column name. After the column name, you need to define a data type. In some data type, we need to define the size also. For example, if it is a number, then how many digits you want to display, that you can define over here. So data type, size if it is there, for example character, then maximum length you can define over here. Even you can define a default expression. What is default? Default is the keyword. It means if I am not inserting any value into this column, it means I am skipping the column at the time of the insertion, then the default value will be inserted into the table. So you can write here default expression also. One more thing is you can define constraints over here. This type of constraints is known as a column level constraints. You can repeat the same thing for the another column, but I'm using the square bracket just because it is an optional. For example, if you are not passing all these things, then it's okay. If you want to define, then you can, right? So it is not compulsory thing. Column name, data type and size is compulsory, but size is depend upon the data type you have defined. Here you can say that this is the column number 1, 2, 3 and up to how many columns you want to give. So this will be your column n. And after the end of each column, right? Suppose if you want to end over here, then it is okay. But if you want to define any table level constraint, then also you can do after the all the column definition is over. This is also an optional part. If you want to skip this, then you can. So here you can say that this is the table level constraint. It means table level constraint will be defined at the table level after the definition of all the columns is over. Now, this is the simple syntax. Now you must need to understand, sir, which data types are available in Oracle and in which situation we can use this. So basically, number data type is there. In number data type, you can pass precision and scale. Precision and scale, it means a floating point value you can define. For example, if I'm writing number 7, 2, it means total length is 7, including floating point 2. Now, suppose if you define here number of, for example, 10, then there will be no floating point, only size is 10. Suppose if you want to define a data type integer, then also you can write int, but the size will be default 38 digit. So it is a very long 38 digit. We all knows that if we add a 5 digit, then it will become a thousand numbers, right? A thousands number. If we add the 6 digit, then it will be the number that contains the lakhs values. So this is the size of 38 digit. If you write here integer, you can define character data type. Here in character data type, you can define the size. For example, I'm writing here character of 20. Remember students, this is the fixed length character of 20. So fixed 20 length of the character will be defined over here. It is fixed. Suppose if you are storing one character, then also it will occupy 20 character size. So 19 character space will be wastage in this case. So if you don't want to waste, if you want to use variable length, then you can use varchar2 and then you can define the size. If you define the size over here, then you can write like this varchar2, for example 30. So variable length maximum size is 30. So what is the difference? For example, if I want to store only one character and I am using varchar2 30, then the 29 will not be waste. It will occupy somewhere else. Here it occupies only one character because it is a variable length. So whatever your size, it occupies that much character only, but the maximum length is 30. Here the total length is 20 irrespective of what you are storing into. For example, if you are storing a string that is Atmiya, then definitely it is a 6 character. For example, if I am storing here Atmiya, then the letters are 6, but the size will be 20 over here. And if I store Atmiya over here, then the variable length will be 6. So I recommend you that use the varchar 2 if size is not fixed. You can use the date data type to store the data. For example, if you want to store the date, you can simply write a date. Whenever you are writing a date, remember that the date is format sensitive. It means you must need to insert the date in DD-MON-RR format, or you can say it is RR format. So it will take last 2 digits. I recommend you to insert like this, so it will not make any difference. For example, if you want to enter the today's date, then you can write 4. MON means first 3 letters of the month, that is December. For December, you can write DEC, and then you can write 2020. One more thing about the date is what? The date is enclosed within single quotation mark. You must need to understand that character and date always enclosed within single quotation mark. One more data type is there. Suppose if you want to store a timestamp, it means if you want to store a date with the, for example, date, minute, second, hour, and even AM, PM, if you want to define, then you can use the timestamp data type. Here in timestamp data type, you can say that it stores the date with fractions of seconds. For example, if I want to store a date in timestamp, how we can do this? Simple. DD-MON-RR, the same, but now you can define the time, that is 10:33, and you can define the second, for example 45, and even you can define the fractions of second 1 2 3 4 5, and then you can define AM or PM. So if you write here AM, then it will be morning 10. So here you can mention AM or PM. So this is what the date data timestamp data type is. Here you can use the different data types like long, CLOB, BLOB, row, all other data types are there. But these are the frequently used data type in SQL. So now I just want to create a using a simple default expression. So how we can do this? Let's see practically. So I'm just opening my Oracle prompt. I'm just to log in with SQL plus AU 2020. AU is my password. Now I'm just writing a simple query to check how many tables are there. You can write the query select star from tab. Even dash is used to write the comments. So here you can make the point that this is the point to remember that dash is used to make a comment. Comment means it will not be executed. For example, if I am writing to check, to verify the list of tables created in schema, or you can say in database, you can simply write select star from tab. So there are no tables available over here. So you just need to understand that dash dash is used to make the comments in SQL. Now I want to simply create the table. How we can do this? Let me copy this so I can share the same with you guys. So I'm just copying and pasting over here. Okay. Now I just want to create the table. So I'm simply writing here create table. Now you can mention here the name of the table. I already explained the rules to create the table. So I want to just create the simple table that is a student. You all knows every student have some unique identity and every student must have the unique enrollment number, and that must be a unique within the university, right? So here you can define the enrollment number. So enrollment number is my column name. Now here you can define a data type, for example, number. Now if you define that I have an enrollment number of 12 digit, then you can mention here enrollment number of 12. After comma, here you can add one more column, for example, name. I'm just giving the size that 30. It means it will occupy maximum length 30. Suppose if you are trying to enter more than 30, then it will give you an error at the time of insert. Now I want to add one more, that is a city. And in city, I'm just mentioning here default. It means the default value will be Rajkot. So if user doesn't enter any data in a city, then the default city will be inserted and it will be Rajkot. You can simply copy this statement and you can run in your SQL. How we can do this? Again simple, you can paste and you can check the table is created. You can simply check the verify how many columns are there. So to verify structure of the table, you can use describe command. So you can write describe and the name of the table, that is a student. So you can write describe student. It will give you a structure that enrollment number is the table, column name is the column, city is the column, enrollment number having 12 size, name having 30 size, and city having the 30 size. So you can verify the structure using describe command. But students, what the problem is, here I created the table without any constraint, and whenever you are creating any table without constraint, you must need to understand what. See, this is the table that is a student. Now I'm trying to insert the record into student, that values. Now I'm just passing here enrollment number, that is 101, right? And the name is, for example, Amit, and I'm entering the city, that is, for example, Surat. The record will be inserted because the enrollment number maximum length is 12. It doesn't mean that you cannot enter less than 12, right? One more thing, you can repeat the same record again and it will be inserted. It is a duplication. In the database, it is known as a redundancy. It means it is a duplication of record. It is not required at all. It means even the enrollment number should not be same, even if the name is different. For example, if I am entering the name is Parag, and if even I am changing the city, that is Ahmedabad, then also the record will be inserted. Why it is inserted? Because I had not put any constraint over here. We have to put the constraint. To check the uniqueness, you can define the primary key in your enrollment number, because enrollment number is the unique for each student in the university. So to provide this, you can define the constraint over here. One more thing that you must need to understand, and that is what, for example, see, Suppose if I don't want to insert the CD, then suppose if you don't want to enter the CD, then you can write here insert. But before trying to insert, always look into the structure so you will not get an error. Insert into student. Now, instead of writing directly values, for example, value is 1003 and the name is, for example, Nikunj. Now, I don't want to provide the CT Raj code. At that time, you can mention the columns over here. So you can mention the column that the first column is enrollment number and the second column is name, and in respectively in enrollment number I entered the 1003, in name I entered the value Nikunj. So whenever you write here semicolon or if you press slash, the record will be inserted and you will be able to see the data by firing the query select star from table name. So name of the table is student. So you will be able to see that I had not inserted the record in Nikunj, I had not inserted the value CT Raj code, but it is default expression, and that is the reason why the Raj code value is inserted over here. So you can take the benefit of your default expression by doing this. But the one problem is over here, that is this number must not be duplicate, right? So for that you need to check for the, let me save this so you people get this particular thing also. Now you must need to understand what that the constraint, it means anybody cannot insert any data in my table. So to put the validation or limitation in table at the time of manipulation. What is manipulation? That is insert, update, delete or merge. I want to put the constraint. It means this should not be done, right? If you want to insert the record, then this is my rule. So you can define the rule for your table, and that you can define using constraints. In Oracle, basically there are 5 types of constraints. Let me try with the first constraint, that is primary. What is primary key? Very simple it is. You can say that it is always unique. So you cannot enter the duplication in primary key. One more thing, benefit is over here is what? You cannot insert the null in primary key. Here it is allowed. See, if I am entering the null over here, it will allow me to insert the record. Why? Because there is no constraint available in my table, and that is the reason why you people will be able to check that the Nikunj is inserted with the no enrollment number. It is never happened in the any university or any colleges that the student does not have the enrollment number. So you must need to identify the uniqueness. How we can identify the uniqueness? That is, that key should be your primary key. And primary key is the combination of unique plus not null. It means it will never allow you to insert the duplicate, as well as it will never allow you to insert the null. The second constraint is not null. And not null means it never allows a null value in that particular column. You must need to understand that also. Not null is the constraint that always defined at column level only. So we can define the not null at the column level only. That you must need to remember. This is the point to remember. The third constraint is unique. It means unique may contain null. Remember, it may contain null, but whenever it contains the value will be always unique. So you can say value will be always unique. So there will be no duplication in value. So let me recreate the table again. Suppose if you want to recreate the table, then if you want to create the table, either you can change the name of the table or you can drop the existing table. Whenever you drop the existing table, remember the entry of this table will be entered into recycle bin. So let me show you the same concept again. Select star from, for example, tab. There is a one table and it is student. Suppose if I am dropping the table student, then if I write here select star from tab, then it is available in bin. It is available in recycle bin and the table is available in recycle bin. Now, if you want to check a recycle bin, then you can write here show recycle bin, and here it will show you that the student original table is available over here, right? And the dropped time is 4th December 10:46:55. But whenever you drop the table, if you want to drop shift delete, then you can use the purge to drop permanently. Suppose if you want to clear the recycle bin, then you can write here purge recycle bin. It means all the objects available in the recycle bin, it will be removed. It is like a empty recycle bin. So if you see show recycle bin, there will be no object available over here. If you write select star from tab, again no object available over here. Now I want to create the table again, but you all knows I want to define primary key over here. Enrollment number is primary key. Why? Because enrollment number can never become the null, as well as enrollment number can never contain the duplicate value. I want to define the not null over here. Why? Because the name must be there for each and every student. I don't want to define any constraint in city, because if the city is not defined, then I am making here Rajkot. Now I want to add one more column, that is mobile. Whenever you write mobile, we all knows that in India that is 10-digit mobile number. So we are limiting, maximum limit is 10, and I'm writing here unique. But if you write here unique, definitely what happened? It will allow you to insert the null, and that is what we require, because what happened? Some students might have a mobile and might not have a mobile. If they have a mobile, then each and every one must have the different mobile number, and if they don't have the mobile, then it should allow you to insert the data. So let me create the table. See, the table is created, but now this table is created with the three constraints: primary key, not null, unique, and default is the expression. You can describe your table by writing describe student. Remember, here it will display only not null. It is already a primary key column. So if you want to check this, definitely you can check into user underscore constraints table. But right now I just want to do what? I want to check it allows the insertion into table or not. So I'm just inserting the record into student. In which column you want to insert? I want to insert enrollment number, name. Only two columns. Values. I'm inserting the enrollment number 101 and name is Ramesh. Right? See, the value will be inserted into single quote only. Now you people will be able to check, select star from student, that the record is inserted, mobile number is not there, but the city is inserted with the Raj code. It means default is working properly. One more thing that you can take care over here is what? Suppose you have skipped two columns, that is mobile and city. Now I want to skip this enroll name column. It means I am inserting here enrollment number, city and mobile. It means I don't want to insert the name. So I am inserting 102, City is, for example, Surat, and I'm entering the mobile number, for example, 9099090990. What happens? See, it will give me an error. You cannot insert a null into name. It means if you are skipping any column at the time of insert, they will insert the default value. And if the default is not defined, then they will insert the null value. So the problem is what? You must need to include not null column in the insert. The thumb rule is what? The thumb rule is what? We must need to include not null columns in insert statement. So whenever you insert the record, the not null column must be defined. For example, if my table is student, here you can see that there are two columns which are not null, enrollment number and name, and both you have to take care. One more thing, suppose if I am inserting enrollment number, name, mobile, all these things, then no need to write here column name. Directly you can follow the sequence. For example, name of the person is, for example, the name of the person is Chirag. So I'm entering the record, that is the second record. Now you can check, select star from student. If you are using live SQL, then your data will be displayed in a tabular. But if you are using command prompt, then you can use the set line size. So whenever you write the set line size, this mobile will be displayed over here. You can check set line size and value. Now you can write select query again. Now the data will be looked properly. 101 Ramesh Rajkot, the number is not inserted here, so it is null. And that is what I told you, that the unique constraint may contain a null, but whenever it contains the value, it always unique. Suppose if you try to insert the record again, instead of Chirag, I am entering the record of Parag. Instead of Surat, I am writing here Surendra. And if I am entering the same contact number that Chirag having, it will give me an error. And the error is unique constraint violated. So I have to insert the unique number. It means if I'm writing here 1, then it's okay. Now you will be able to check the records are available. Now suppose if you think that, sir, I want to try the same enrollment number. Even in enrollment number, you cannot write null. Check this. If I am writing null, it will give me an error. Cannot insert null into enrollment number. If you are giving the enrollment number repeat, then also it will give you an error. This is not the error related to name. This is not the error related to name. This is the error related to your enrollment number, right? So here, if I enter, here you can get the error, that is unique constraint violated over here in enrollment number. That is 102, 102, repeat again. So very simple it is. You can use 3 different constraint for your validation into the table, for your limitation, that is for constraint into the table, and that is primary key, not null, and unique. Now I am moving towards the check constraint, but before I am moving towards the check, here you can see that this is the unique constraint, so you cannot repeat the value over here. But suppose if you are inserting again record, that is 104, I'm writing here, for example, PCS city XYZ, and I'm inserting a null. See, you can insert the null in 2 ways. Either you can specify directly NULL, or you can skip that particular column, right? So I'm writing a null in mobile number. See, it is inserted. So it means that you can insert the multiple null in unique constraint. At that time, the constraint will not be violated. And this is really a good thing. Suppose if you think that I want to insert the column of Aadhaar number. So might be a chance somebody have the Aadhaar number and that will be unique. And might be a chance somebody have no Aadhaar number, no Aadhaar card is issued to that person. So in that case, it will be null. And might be a chance the multiple null is there. And that is the reason why in unique, multiple null is allowed, but the unique number must be unique. But the problem over here, and that problem is what? Suppose if you insert the record, see here, whenever you are trying to insert the record, you can see carefully over here. I already told you, but let me show you practically. This is the student table. There are two not null columns. Which two? Enrollment number and name. Name is not null because I defined the not null, and enrollment number is not null just because I defined the primary key. Now, I want to insert the record into student, but I don't want to insert the enrollment number first. I want to insert the name first. So here you can maintain the sequence if it is required. You can write here name, comma city, comma enrollment number, comma mobile number. So you need to follow this sequence in a values. So your first column is name. So you can write here name, for example, AJF. City, here you can just mention Tarsai. And enrollment number, you can mention, for example, 111. In mobile number, you can enter the digit. The record will be inserted. Here you can see two things. One is you can change the sequence. One more thing. Suppose if you don't want to insert a null into mobile number, then you can skip that particular column. You can skip that particular column. I'm just inserting here, that is 112, and here I'm just inserting, that is ABT. Now I'm just skipping the mobile number, right? So if you skip that particular column, then also null will be inserted. And if you want to insert the specific null, directly you can. If you are not defining these columns, then you need to follow the sequence of your table that is defined in the describe. So this sequence you must need to follow if you are not writing here column list. If you are not mentioning any column, then the by default value inserted. For example, I'm writing here NDB. I don't want to insert a CT. So I'm writing NDB and I'm writing here unique enrollment number, that is 113. But remember student, whenever you skip any column, right now I'm skipping two columns. One is city and another one is mobile. If the default is defined, then the default will be inserted. If the default is not defined, then null will be there. So here two cases there. In city, the default Raj code will be inserted, but in mobile, the null will be inserted. Now you can check your data into student table that I inserted the data. Here you can say that if you skip the column, then the Raj code will be inserted. So somebody from you might ask me that, sir, I want to insert null in city column. Then how we can do this? If you have defined the default, then explicitly you have to write a null. This is the only solution in this case. Why? Because we all knows that if you are skipping the column, then default value will be inserted. So if you want to insert a null in CD column, then you have to mention that particular column, and now you will be able to see that the null is inserted over here. Now one more thing, I want to make sure that it should not be 4 digit only. I want to make sure that it must be 10 digit. It means it must be unique as well as it must be unique as well as it must be 10 digit only, right? So I want to make sure that the user must enter the 10 digit, and for that you can use the check constraint. Check constraint is the constraint which takes minimum one lecture. So definitely in my next lecture we will discuss about the check, but today I want to give you a simple example of check, and that is I want to check that the mobile number length must be 10 digit. How we can do this? Let's see. So here in this case you can simply drop the table student. Now if you write purge, then it is like a shift delete. It will not be available in recycle bin. It will not be available over here also. If you write to show recycle bin, the object will be permanently deleted. Now I want to create again the same table, but I want to define the check constraint. So here in check, into bracket, you can write the condition. I want to check what you want to check. I want to check that the mobile number that user enter, that must be 10 digit. So here you can write check length of mobile is equal to 10. So it's a simple condition that the length of this column equal to 10. It means it must be 10, not less than this, not greater than this. You can simply copy your table again. Now the table will be created with the little bit different aspects. So now here you can just check that suppose if I am trying to insert the record, that is PCS XYZ null, definitely it will allow me. Why? Because null is allowed in unique. Even if you are entering the data, then and then your check will be executed. So it will allow me to insert the null in mobile. If I am inserting the number, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 digit number, it is not 10 digit number, your check constraint will be violated. It means I have to insert the 10 digit. Then and then the record will be created. One more constraint is violated over here, and that is unique constraint. Why? Because 104 is the record that is already inserted. So what I need to do in this case? I need to change the number 105. Name can be repeated because we all knows that we can find the multiple Narendra Modi, right? So that can happen. But you must need to take care. One more thing is what? Here, it will not be duplicate also. See, if I writing here 106, for example, Ram, if I am writing the same mobile number, unique constraint will be violated. If I am entering the 9 digit, then check constraint will be violated. And if I write here exactly 10 digit, the record will be created. So this is the way we can define the check constraint. I will explain the check constraint in very detail. The whole lecture I will take special for check constraint, and that will be my next lecture.